how that's been a theme of the show. Can you talk more about how that's been informed this season?
I think at the outset of the season, I think Sam and Dean are at kind of the darkest possible interpretation of what Chuck has been doing this whole time. And I think there's some truth to that, but I think we're going to complicate it as we get deeper into the season. And but I think the fun is in a Sam and Dean who feel very much at the top of the season that what if nothing they've done has ever mattered? What if God has been pulling every single string? And of course, that's not the show's perspective. And I think you'll see as we get further along that we'll be finding ways to sort of reaffirm Sam and Dean's positive impact on the world, even in spite of Chuck's interference. There's a reason that they're special to him, you know, as his favorite toys, and special to us.
Like, I watched the show closely. We've had clues that Chuck was excited as benevolent and compulsive. So was he always going to end up being a big bad during one season, and then when they announced it was going to be the last season?
I think it was. I can't even speak to the foundational years with Chuck, you know, but I think it was something that has come up a couple times, like over the past few years, and it started to snowball to the point where we saw what an interesting antagonist he would be for the boys in the final season. And I think it is because it speaks to this question of free will. Have we made a difference? And how do we make a difference? How do we go up against someone this powerful? And it started to feel like an inevitability, but also a really big challenge. I think so raucous. I think every episode is a little bit harder to break that has to do with this, because you have to weigh the Chuck of it all. You have to weigh the sort of meta of it all, and find ways to make that meta stuff actually play really simply and emotionally, you know? And I think we're doing it. It's really exciting. It feels like the right story to tell, but it's raising the bar for us.
Do you think that even if you don't do an explicitly meta episode this season, just the nature of having Chuck as the villain pretty much makes for a lot of the meta humor?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we still hope to do a big swing, and we've got some really big ideas for what that episode is going to look like in the back half. But there are aspects of sort of the God and the machine of it all that are playing out, you know, sort of throughout the season, and are now becoming, the meta elements are becoming kind of like emotional existential crisis elements for Sam and Dean.
Does that turn into an existential crisis for the writers' rooms?
It can. I think what's interesting is even when we determine the story and a story that works, sometimes just the rhetoric becomes extra complicated, when really it's like, no, this is A, B, and C happen, but like when you're trying to communicate it, it can start getting convoluted, but really the storytelling feels pretty simple and true. It's just, it makes communicating this stuff feel headier even than maybe
it right now.
Yeah, exactly.
The show's been on for so long. Do you guys refresh yourselves between seasons and watch certain episodes or certain seasons to sort of get an idea?
I think it's sometimes we'll rely on our support staff, our writers' assistants, to do that, like watch them all, create documents, and certainly in this last season we're basically generating series Bibles for different characters and different things, so it's like, so we can have it all sort of at our hands. And then at the individual writer level, it really comes down to like personal responsibility and a sense of, okay, I'm engaging with this aspect of the show. Let's make sure I'm going back and watching these 4 episodes or these 5 episodes, and just reacquainting yourself, because we've all watched the whole show, but like there's a lot of lore and history there. There's a few contradictions in the lore and history there, and it's like, and then it comes down to, well, actually, but who said that? Were they wholly reliable? So there's some debate there, and so we have the same kind of conversations the fandom sometimes has about what is canon, you know.
Do you have a favorite character pairing, either from the past or coming up?
Oh man. I think at various points, like, every pairing is, like, very special to me. I mean, and the other thing is, as a writer, like, the true privilege of writing for the show is that when I'm writing, and if you're writing something else, you have to generate this all on your own. When I'm writing Supernatural, when I'm, like, this is what's going to happen, I'm typing, I know how much that matters to every single person who watches the show. Like, it is the impact of what I write, I know is so huge. I've seen it, I hear it, not just on Twitter, but and I can feel it in like the collective unconscious or whatever. So everything is so charged with that I mean, a Sam and Dean scene, like there's knowing. For me, I write for impact, and like if I'm writing a really emotional Sam and Dean scene, that's like you're straight at the heart. A really emotional Castian scene, like that's like straight for the heart. So like I'm power mad. So like I like writing scenes like that. But I can say that I got to write Rowena again this season, and the slipping into her voice is always like putting on an old glove. I'm just like, Rowena. I'm writing Rowena. It's a blast. I'm always happy to be writing her words.
So as a writer, and if God's a writer, and you're in the writer's room and he's the big bad of the show, but you're also writing him and he's writing them, is there any sort of empathetic layer to God where he's not all bad this season? Are you channeling yourself through him possibly?
I think so, but I think depending on the moment in the episode, like you're getting empathy and little glimmers of the old Chuck that we knew and loved, but I think it's a pretty dark vision of what it is to be a writer. And so I think if we're channeling anything, we're channeling self-hatred more than self-love. Does that make sense?
I feel like you're preaching to the choir with that.
Yeah.
Are they giving you